What's up, everybody? It's Kelsee Briana J, and in today's video I'm talking about the highly anticipated drop from Tati Beauty. This is the first launch from Tati Beauty. This is not to be confused with Halo Beauty, which is her vitamin brand. This is a completely different brand, and in this brand she is focusing on the makeup. So this is what I thought she was going to be coming out with first, but she delayed it, and then she came through and she dropped her first piece, which is an eyeshadow palette. By now, I know that pretty much all of you all have seen this because this is, like I said, highly anticipated. The internet has been going nuts about this, so I was happy to get my hands on it. I was on her website the second that it launched, and you guys know I pay for expedited shipping because I wanted to talk to you all about it as soon as possible. So we're doing it. Currently, this palette is sold out on her website, but she does have where you can pre-order it. So if you pre-order this palette right now, it says that you can reserve your palette from the December restock and receive a guaranteed shipping by December 15th, 2019. But let's jump into this palette. Here's what the palette looks like. It's a pretty sizable palette. It has a nice little weight on it. And this palette retails for $48. So the official name for this palette is the Textured Neutrals Palette Volume 1. Which insinuates that there are going to be more volumes. This is the starting point. So this is what the palette comes in. It comes in a sleeve. You slide it over. And here's the actual palette. So it has a very smooth texture. This reminds me somewhat of the Viseart packaging that they did for the Grand Pro palettes and how they have the volume 1 and the sleeve and, you know, just overall how the outside of the package feels. Opening up the palette, it has a huge mirror. So this entire thing is a mirror. And here are the eyeshadows. So the interesting thing about this color story is that Tati gives us the same color a few different times in different finishes. So this is a pressed powder palette and a glitter palette. So the top row is glitter and then the rest of the eyeshadows are powders. So the overview for this palette says that this is an exclusive collection that includes 24 pans of thoughtfully crafted shadows and glitters developed by Tati Westbrook. Textured Neutrals Volume 1 introduces 6 monochromatic color stories featuring 4 new luxe textures and finishes. This universally flattering neutral palette begins with a row of prismatic glitters that cascade into shimmering metallics, sequin pinpoints, and ultra-rich creamy matte eyeshadows. Beautiful is your story to tell. So as you all can see, each column is the exact same color, and then each row has a different row of finishes. The first row are the glitters, and then it's labeled on the side here. The second row are the metallics, and it's metallics all the way across. We have the sequins all the way across, the matte eyeshadows all the way across at the bottom. And then the colors are the columns. The first column is the shade Memory. The second column is the shade Ritual. The third column is the shade Story. The fourth column is the color Soothe. The fifth column is the color Aura, and the sixth column is the shade Poet. I wonder if that is going to be the theme of how she does the rest of her palettes. So when she comes out with volume 2, she'll give us a different color story, but give us the same thing, the different finishes with the same color. I wanted to swatch it both ways, that way you guys can get a full understanding of this palette. So I did swatches both row by row as well as column by column. That way you guys can see how the colors complement one another, but also you can see how the colors differ by the different finishes. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert the pictures of that, and then I'll show you all the demonstration of how I created this eye look, and then stay tuned until the end and I will tell you all my final thoughts about Tati Beauty's first launch. So I hope that you all enjoy. Let me know if you all ended up getting your hands on this palette. I look forward to reading your comments in the comments section, and I will chat with you all shortly. Here's my palette. Let me open her up. Tati said that she designed this palette to be able to stand up to use it or just be able to lay it flat. I have on concealer as my base, so I'm just going to go back over this to make sure that there are no creases there. I'm first going to go into a blending brush. This is a Wayne Goss number 18 brush and take the color Soothe. So I am going to go back and forth above my crease with this color. This is going to be my transition color. And I'm taking this back and forth and buffing it out. So I'm going to build this color up just a little bit more. I'm going to take this same color, wrap that around on the lower lash line. So next I'm going to dip into the sequin version of Story. Same blending brush. And I'm moving down underneath the color that I applied as my transition color. And I'm going to pop this in my crease as my crease color. Now, this one is a matte eyeshadow with glitter reflex. When I'm blending this color out, I'm focusing it in my crease area and I see the subtleness of the shimmer, but overall, since it's a matte shade, the shimmer particles are dissipating. You see them a little bit, but unless you press, it's not going to be very prevalent, but it's just a subtle hint of glitter. So I'm going over it again just to make it a little bit more pronounced because I want this color to pop. So I'm using pressing motions. Now I'm going to dip into the color Ritual. Again, same blending brush. With this color, I'm going to add it on my outer corner and then blend it up to the crease, but I'm focusing this color more so on the lid. So I'm using packing motions even though it's a blending brush because I like what a blending brush does on the outer corner. It diffuses that product, but at the same time it still allows you to pack it on. So I'm just taking my time packing on this color until it's fully opaque. I'm not taking it all the way on the lid. I'm focusing this color on the outer corner. I am getting fallout, so let me dust that away. Let me continue to pack this on until I get it to be fully saturated. I don't want to see any patches. So it's taking me a minute to build up this matte brown. So I'm just going over it to make sure that it is completely opaque. But it's a bit drier, so it's taking me a while to build it up to get it to be that creamy brown that does not have any holes in it. So I'm just continuing to pack it on and I want it to be blended. So I'm just taking my time to make sure that this happens. Let me go in with a clean blending brush just to blend out these edges. No additional product. I'm going to go back with Story and go back through the crease because this color did disappear just a bit. And then let me go back in with Ritual to fuse these colors together. So now I have that blended out. Now let's go into a flat shader brush. I'm going into the metallic version of Soothe. I'm going to take this color right underneath my brow as my underbrow highlights. Same brush, and I'm going to take the metallic version of Story and I'm popping that on my inner corner. Same brush, and I'm going to take the glitter version of Soothe. I am going to apply this on the lid. Okay, so this is adhering with no additional base. It is sticking by itself. Cool. I like not having to add an extra step. Go in with a little bit of this at a time because you don't want to get fallout in your eye because you don't want to damage anything. And then go in the areas where you need it. I'm going to blend it over to my outer corner color. I'm going to blend it up to the crease. And then I'm going to blend it next to that inner tear duct color. That glitter is freaking pretty. But I got a little bit of fallout. Let me just close my eyes and dust. Now I need to go back in with Ritual just on the edge just to make sure that everything is blended and that color is still prevalent. Because I don't like to have any lines of demarcation even though it's glitter. I'm going to take a little bit of the glitter from Ritual just to further blend. I am tapping this right on that line where the matte Ritual is and where the glitter version of Soothe is. Ritual is the same color. This is just the glitter form, so I think it'll be a little bit more harmonious this way. Easier transition to this color so it's not a harsh line. Boom. So we are almost at the finish line. I just need to add another color on my lower lash line. Remember, I went in with that color on the bottom at first to really blow it out. That was to help blend out this next color. I'm taking a Wayne Goss 27S brush and the metallic version of Poet. Very carefully, I am going to apply that on my lower lash line. So this is my finished look. So I hope that you all enjoyed the demonstration portion of this video. I like the way my look ultimately turned out. I did struggle a bit in the beginning with the matte eyeshadows. I felt like they didn't blend and they didn't really build up to be the color that I wanted them to be. Most specifically the brown. The brown eyeshadow took me the longest time to get it to be exactly how I wanted it to be on the lid, and even still then it didn't fully give me the color saturation that I was looking for. This brown is the type of eyeshadow formulation that if you continue to pack it on, it's going to get darker and then it's going to be patchy. I couldn't ever get it to be 100% fully opaque on the lid. That's why I went over it so much with so much of the glitter. I think the glitter eyeshadow was very easy to work with. A little bit goes a very long way. I was impressed at how it stayed by itself. I didn't have to go into any sprays. I didn't have to use any glitter glues. And it was very user friendly. So if you're a person who's into glitters on your lids, I would still say be very careful because you can damage your eyes with glitter if glitter gets in them. You can try to be as safe as possible. The glitter is not eye safe. You can have cosmetic grade glitter, but there's always a risk factor that you're putting into play whenever you're using glitter. So you just have to be very, very cognizant of that and make your own decision. But the glitters are my favorite formulation in this palette. I feel like these stand out the most and they are the easiest to use. And next we have the metallics. So overall, I like the metallics as well, even though I don't think that it's 100% consistent across all of the metallic shades. I think that some of them are a little bit smoother than others and some of them have a little bit more color payoff than others, which I don't mind the color payoff because you can always layer up a product, and because it's a metallic eyeshadow you can always spray it to intensify it a little bit more. So that's not really a deal breaker for me. Namely the colors Soothe and the color Aura. I think that those are a little bit smoother and they're easier to work with. They have a little bit more of a blinding metallic effect as the name states. The other ones don't really have that same va-va-voom. They're okay, but they don't pop the same way that those two colors do. The sequin eyeshadows, I think that these are okay. The sequin eyeshadows are matte eyeshadows with glitter embedded in them. And if you all have ever had any experience using this type of formulation of eyeshadow, then you'll know that to truly see the glitter in the matte eyeshadow, you have to use a glitter glue, because as soon as you start to blend and not pack, then the glitter disappears. You have to use packing motions with these eyeshadows, otherwise you're just going to get a matte eyeshadow. So the base color of these is nice. I did get good color payoff when I used one of them in my crease, as you guys saw, but the glitter just basically went in the air as soon as I started blending. I don't think that these are badly formulated. Just know that in order to see that glitter, you are going to have to pack it on, and even still doing that is not going to be an overly blinding type glitter. You'll have to use the literal glitters for those, but once you apply these, the glitter on the lid is going to be so subtle that you're not going to see that big of a difference between this row and the matte row. So moving on to the matte row, just like the metallic row, I feel like there are inconsistencies in the formulation. So overall, swatching them, they are going to swatch out smoothly, they're swatching out velvety, they're giving you full color payoff. When you're blending them in your crease or trying to pack them on or blend them with one another, it's a different story. The color Ritual gave me the most difficulty when applying it. When I was trying to pack it on, the color was going on initially, but then when I wanted to build it up to make it more opaque, it went on a little bit patchy, and then the color started to dust away, and it was hard for it to adhere to my lid without me having inconsistencies in the color. So in some areas it would be a little bit lighter, and then where I'm trying to pack on the color, it would start to darken up a lot. And so whenever that happens, I have a hard time blending it with other colors because I can't get that color together because it's doing its own thing on my lids. The matte variation of Story, super blendable, but the colors Ritual and the colors Poet need a little bit more pigmentation for me not to have to continue to build them up the way that I did. And then when I did build them up, it was creating the patchy look, and then I had to go back over it with the glitter to sort of save it, and then it took me too long to blend it out. I personally don't like to take that long to blend out eyeshadows. So all in all, I think the unique variable to this palette is that Tati decided to give us the same color in different finishes. However, I think that we do have these type colors in our collection. I don't think that this palette is 100% necessary necessary to have, especially if you have been collecting makeup at the rate of everybody else that is super into YouTube and beauty and all of that stuff for the past 5 or 6 years. But if you are a fan of Tati, I would say go ahead and get it, especially since there are going to be limited quantities of this palette and it's already sold out. And then when she restocks it, she says that she's not going to restock it a lot. So if you're a fan of hers and you want to start with her from the beginning and collect volume 1, I would say go ahead and get it. It's not a bad palette, but it's not overall my favorite just because it required me to put too much work into doing a look that I am used to doing, a look that I've done several times on myself. Let me know if you all plan on getting this palette. Are you a fan of it? Let me know your thoughts on this. I look forward to reading you all's comments, and I will check you all in my very next video, which will be super soon. Smooches. Bye. So it hasn't even really been 5 minutes since I ended the video, and this is what I do, like ASAP. I want to get comfortable ASAP. Lashes off. But I just forgot to mention the fact that these eyeshadows have coconut derivatives in it, and I thought that that was very important, especially if somebody has an allergy to coconut. You want to make sure that you are very careful if you decide to use this, or if you have a sensitivity to coconut. Just know that these eyeshadows have them in them. I don't know if all of them have them in them. I was watching Tati's video earlier and she mentioned it for the matte eyeshadows as well as the glitter eyeshadows. I don't know if she meant all of them, but I do know that she did mention it for those two. Okay, I believe that's it. Bye!